Alrighty folks, well, according to my clock, I am on time. But of course I have to wait for the delay, so we'll see. So, yes, I am on time. Don't tell me otherwise. Welcome to the Monday night Conquest show as usual. And at the top of the show I always like to give a big shout out to my third tier and above patrons. Tim, Reese and Wayne, thank you very much. Yes, I am. I'm on time. I'm so happy about that. So yeah, we're starting the show just a little bit later than usual, just to try and get me on time. And if you can hear by my voice, even then I was running around trying to get things done. So, but I'm on time. It's brilliant. So, thank you very much for joining me tonight. Issue number 19 is some Lord Felthius and his cohort. So we'll have a look at that in the show. So fiddle around with the camera, make sure that's on the screen nicely. And Wayne is doing all my links for me now. And yes, if you want to help support the channel, the Patreon link is in the description. But if you don't necessarily want to just do, don't want to do Patreon, but you want to keep in touch, all of my social media links are in the description below, in the chat. And you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I do have a Twitch channel as well on YouTube. And you can also find me on Discord, where you can join in on the chat there. And speaking of Discord, I've been adding a bunch of channels on it. One of which is where you can send in your pictures, just like Chick Paints was just there. And if you have an Instagram, you can let me know what that is as well. And yeah, they'll be put on my Instagram story and sent here and posted there, so all of you can see it. So yeah, I think that's pretty much everything we're going to do. As always, my show is going to now be on at 7 o'clock, so that includes my Thursday night shows as well. And it's pretty much going to be all in line. Everything's just going to be in line. Wayne's just popping off to just share me around all over social media. Thank you very much, Wayne. And if anybody else, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share the video as well if you like. It's very kind of you. Other than that, I don't know if I've got any more announcements to make. Although the 22nd of this week, Friday this week is the last Friday of the month. Which means I'll be doing my Ask Me Anything video, and I'll be premiering it on Friday at about 7 o'clock. So, yeah, I'll be doing that. So, keep an eye out for that. And the patrons will get to have a voice chat with me while I'm doing that. And all of that jazz. I think that's pretty much it. So, we're going to get cracking on with issue number 19. Now, I can't remember if there was a reason that I didn't do the painting last week. Is it because I ran out of time? Because last week we got Rakarth Flesh and Mephiston Red in the magazine, and I can't remember exactly why I didn't do any painting on the two models that I've been doing along with the magazine. I think it might have been because I ran out of time, but hopefully we'll get on with that. And we have the sprues. Lord Felthius is on his own sprue. Oh, lots of dry brushing potential there. Look at all of that. What is that? Is that maggots or is that? Oh, it looks like it's fur with maggots in it. Which is, I mean, you can't really see it very well, and I can't focus it. Yeah, I'll paint it. I think I'll probably paint tonight because I think we'll get through this pretty quickly. Because I don't do any of the building on the show anymore because, you know, building all of this would take too long. But we'll have a look at these sprues. So what do we have? We've got one. Is that two? Well, there should be three. Yeah, three Terminators. They look like Cataphracti Terminators, which is nice. Which is cool. I like this. They're the ones with the dangly bits going on here. But they're not just, are they? If we have a look here, actually, we can see one of them's a Cataphracti Terminator, and the other two look like Are they Tartarus Terminators? That's cool. But they look nice. I can't wait to get those done. A lot of people do complain about specifically because I mean these guys have got helmets on, but Lord Felthius's face, it's a bit of a comical grin. So I don't know how my painting style will change those. Because I tend to do mine very dirty, very grungy and grimy. So I wonder if that'll knock back some of that comedic value that he has. What's this? Not seen these properly yet, as I've not seen them in the shop and had a look at mine yet. I would bring them up, but I can't. Oh, I can focus. Can I focus? There we go. Let's bring these guys up. A lot of people complain about his there you go, his face being a bit too comedic. Let's turn it the right way around. With his big old toothy grin. I don't know. Maybe with the way that I paint, that might change that a little bit. But the different types of Terminators are the different types of Terminator armor from the Heresy, because obviously the Traitor Legions don't get any new armor, so they don't get any of the proper Terminators, you know, that we get, the ones that kind of have that funky helmet. They've all, you know, all got the old pattern Terminator armor. So all right, and we got these with these bases with holes in them. I've still lost the ones for my aggressors, so I might actually use these for my aggressors, and then at some point buy some more for in the future, because I am painting up the models, but I'm doing them in the order that they came out. So it's taken me some time though, so you know, I'm 19 issues behind, so it won't be that long. All right, and I'll continue as I mean to carry on and get rid of that front page. I still regret doing that, but you know, I've done it. It's gone. Lords of Contagion, here we go. So we're going straight into some chat about the models that we have in this issue. It's Death Guard Champions number 3, and I will have a look through the book to see if we have any Death Guard Champions already in here, because we know that they jump and chop around the magazine a bit. How's the Hand? The Hounds is fine. It's just it looks worse than it is. I mean, it's just shaking paints. It really hurts after a while, and so yeah, it might be a bit of an RSI. So I'm having a look here. This is what I was having a look for. Death Guard Champions number 5 is the first one we have. This is Death Guard Champions number 3, and that's because obviously this is probably the Lords of Contagion, and I don't know if we'll have one for, there we go, 3.1 is Lord Felthius. Foul Blight Spawn is number 5. Number 6 is a Biologist Putrefier. So obviously further back, if we go back, I reckon, I know that we're going to get Lord Typhus at some point later on, so he's going to be higher up. You know, obviously as you read, you go down in the ranks. So we have Lords of Contagion, which are the Terminator guys. Some fantastic artwork there. We had a look through the art book last time. I mean, that's a big Lord of Contagion. And we already have one of those. No, we don't. I do. I already have one of these, actually. Hang on a second. Let me just grab him off the shelf. I have painted one of these guys up, which is this guy here. In my usual, hang on, let's get that up in my usual Death Guard kind of manner. So we've already painted. Well, we are going to be getting one of these later on in the magazine, I believe. So I'll probably do a video on how I paint this guy later on. This came from the Dark Imperium box set, so I have one of these, and there will be a video probably in the future about how to paint these guys up. Now obviously the models that we have, I'm not sure if Lord Felthius himself is a Lord of Contagion, or whether it's the cohort of Terminators that are around him. I'm not sure. Death Guard have many great warriors and champions who lead them to war. Death Guard Lords are among the greatest of these champions and hold positions of command throughout the Traitor Legion ranks. By destroying and corrupting their enemies, Death Guard Lords show their right to rule and seek rewards from Grandfather Nurgle. Should they prove themselves worthy, Mortarion allows his lords to choose the path of command that best suits their skills in order to keep his sons. With this choice, Mortarion create different paths of leadership known as mantles of corruption. Each of these mantles has a style of command associated with it. Fantastic. If that's the case, you'll have 3. What's that? This guy? Yeah, he's definitely from the Dark Imperium box set. And that's, I mean, this is the specific one that I already have. I painted the flames blue on the back there, but I thought there's plenty of green already on it. But yeah, so this will be interesting. Here we go. Cataphracti Terminator armor provides great resilience at the cost of reduced speed. Lords of Contagion are more than happy with this trade-off. Well, that's fine. A Plague Reaper is a vicious, filth-encrusted axe. Its blade has vicious teeth that roar as it cuts through armor, flesh, and bone. Lords of Contagion often wield these weapons, felling enemies with two-handed swings that can cut through an entire battle line. Which, I mean, this is ironic because they're giving us all this information about the Lord of Contagion, which is this model here. But actually, the Lord of Contagion that we have so far would be, you know, Lord Felthius. So, which is strange, but yeah. But I mean, obviously, this is Cataphracti Terminator armor as well. So there we go. And then obviously we do have a page 3.1 about Lord Felthius himself. He's commander of the Tainted Suns Vectorium. He revels in the depth and decay his troops lead spread across the Imperium of Man. But I mean, obviously, I don't know. I mean, the Tainted Suns Vectorium, that goes back to the different paint schemes, I imagine, for the Death Guard. We got a book here somewhere. Not a book, sorry. The sheets here somewhere telling us about all the different colours, and I imagine that the Vectorum is what changes the colour, I imagine. But the Tainted Suns, I mean, I just have a look here. I just found them here. The Tainted Suns, I mean, they look pretty similar to the way that I paint anyway, so I'm not too fussed about having the way that I paint Lord Felthius. But we'll see. It's fine. I'll still paint them the same way. There we are. A really nice atmospheric shot of that, of some of the models from, what have we got here? We got 4 intercessors and, no, 5 intercessors there. They got the whole squad there. The Rotbringer. Lord Felthius leads his men from his flagship, the Rotbringer. Felthius captured this strike cruiser in battle with the Emperor's Spears chapter, an act for which they have vowed vengeance. From it he plots his attacks, readying his troops in their unending battle against the most hated enemies. Fair enough. So yeah, Lord Felthius. So a bit of fluff about who he is exactly. And then here we go, this is the Blight Lord Terminator. So yeah, Lord Felthius himself is the Lord of Contagion, along with that guy. And the Blight Lord Terminators are his cohort. Chris isn't actually collecting it. You were gonna. It's what made me think I should start painting again when I first saw it advertised. Bloody well should have. Well, it's certainly good money, good value for money. It's yeah, it's pretty good, but that's okay. It's all right if you've got Space Marines and Death Guard. I mean, if you wanted to play Orcs or Guard or anything like that, it's going to be pretty useless. But yeah. So we got the Blight Lord Terminators and some Scions here. I do have some of those. I'm painting up. If you've been following me on Instagram, you get to see some. Got some Guard that I'm doing for a kill team. It's pretty light on fluff. This one. Some bit of a explanation as to who the Blight Lords themselves are. This is Death Guard Warriors number 3. I can't remember where. Let's have a look. We got the champions, the Warriors 1, Warriors 2, Warriors 2, which is a repeat of the Poxwalkers. So move these back to just behind the Poxwalkers, just in front of the Mephitic Blighthauler and the Terminators. It's got some cool art in it. I haven't seen that. And some really messed up helmet designs. I wonder if we've got this guy on here. Let's have a look. Let's have a look at helmets. Where are all the heads? Nope, doesn't look like it. I mean, they're certainly modified and twisted, but not that head. That's kind of cool. I like that. It's got the weird kind of head. It will cost a lot to catch up, yeah. And that's true, yeah, you should be able to still carry on from number 1. So we're into the build guide. I mean, I'm not really too fussed about going through this build guide because, I mean, yeah, we've seen build guides plenty. You know that they, you know, talk you through each individual model. And we're finished with this at the end. Terminator has a Nurgling or growth attached via a peg on his base, which is down here. In fact, it looks like all of them do. So all of them have a Nurgling, or you can add a tentacle to the base of each one of the Terminators. And Lord Felthius himself actually is, looks like he's on a piece of stone or something like that. It's alright if you like that sort of thing. Let me just move the magazine out of the way for a moment while I find Death Guard number 8, which will pretty much be at the back, just before the armoured containers, and all 3 of them. No, 2 of them. Have we had all 3 yet? Scenery number 1. I mean, these are literally copy and pasted. These are. Yeah, we've got 2 of them. Biologist Putrefier is Death Guard number 7. Yeah, Lord Felthius and Tainted Cohort is number 8. Just before the... I mean, to be fair, once you've built these things, I reckon this part of the magazine is pretty much useless. But, you know, we'll have a look. What we got? Let's have a look. Very well tempted. True about Hatchet, they're rubbish, yep. Something about spamming symbols. I don't know why it said that. Don't worry about it, save the time in the show, yeah. And it's dinner time, so you'll be back in a minute. That's fair enough. We're almost done through the magazine, actually. So I'll see you shortly. We'll have a look at the mission in a minute. But again, fairly simple painting guides. Admiral Black, Lead Belcher, pretty much all of the models, all of the paints that we've used so far. Let's just find Death Guard number 8 in the back here. Space Marines number 3. Death Guard number 2. Death Guard number 4. Death Guard 5. Death Guard 6. Scenery number 1. Yeah, that should be about right, because, yeah, Death Guard number 7. So, yeah, use Death Guard green, of course, over the entire model. To base, I imagine. Actually, it's not even telling you to do that. Oh no, you'll need to base coat the models with Death Guard green first. There we go. So prime in a regular paint. Which, yeah. Abaddon black, lead belcher, retributor armor, no oil. To give everything a nice dirty wash. Oh, only over the stuff with lead belcher. Whoops. That's not meant to happen. I'm not too fussed about that anyway. Agrax Earthshade over the golds. We've got Bugman's Glow. Rakath Flesh for the leering face. Yeah. And coat the skin areas of his rotting cloak. Lovely. Mephiston Red for all the leather straps hanging from various people and stuff. And the eye lenses on the helmet. And these images show the finished model. Check against your own models. So yeah, I mean it's fairly simple and standard base coat painting. I mean we don't really have a lot of models to paints to really do that, which is why I did the how to paint the Death Guard Marine. You can find the video in one of my playlists. It's possibly one of the most viewed videos on the channel, actually about 300 and something views, which is fantastic. But yeah, it's nice that we get front view and then on the back we get the rear view and in the right place. So he's on the left hand side on this one and right hand side that, so he's actually in the same place if you flip it over, which is I like that. That's a nice little touch. So there we go, and I've ripped a corner of the page, but that doesn't matter. That's not important. I don't even use the painting guide, because that's how I roll. Mission tutorial number 18, Teleport Strike. The Death Guard have nearly been cleared from the honor of Ultramar. Only a few Plague Marines remain. Aboard the Rotbringer, however, Lord Felthius prepares to finally join the battle. He awaits in his teleportarium chamber, ready to be transported into the thick of the fighting. So, who do we have? The forces on either side. 3 Plague Marines, Lord Felthius and his tainted cohort for the Death Guard, and Primaris Librarian, 5 Intercessors, and 3 Aggressors for the Space Marines. That's, to be fair, that looks like a fairly evenly matched game. How to win. The Death Guard must have at least 1 unit still on the table at the end of battle round 5. And to win for the Space Marines, must eliminate all Death Guard forces before the end of battle round 5. Your new units have a 4-up invuln save or invulnerable save. See the data sheets. An invulnerable save is never lowered by the AP of a weapon. You can choose to roll either an invulnerable save or the normal save, but not both. I.e., if you've got a 2-up save and a 3-up invuln, if you can take your armor save, you'll always take your armor save. So this is interesting actually, because I don't think we've done this before. They're actually showing you that you don't have to deploy everybody on the board at the same time. So the Death Guard player sets up the unit of Plague Marines first. The Space Marine then sets up their units and place Lord Felthius and his tainted cohort to one side. They will join the battle via Teleport Strike, and the Death Guard player gets the first turn, which is, yeah, it's kind of cool. So it's a little bit more information about, when they're going further and further into the rules of deployment and various other bits and pieces. They have really been holding your hand going through this entire process of learning how to play and doing all that sort of stuff, which is brilliant. I do think it's quite good the way they've done it. So we've got mission number 17 and mission tutorial number 18. And victory is nigh, so it's got the little bit of a fluff for the mission briefing. Funny enough, they didn't do the mission briefing first. They do it after the page. Special deployment, here we go. So this is, yeah, here we go. They're talking about the deployment now, about how to do deployment in different ways. So your teleportation strike, about, they come in during the game rather than being placed at the beginning of the battle. And Sam and Max turns deploying their units as usual. Instead of deploying Felthius and Tated, Max said they would deploy with teleport strike. And at the end of his first movement phase, Max deploys Lord Felthius and the Tated cohorts and makes sure each model is 9 inches away from the nearest enemy model. So yeah, there we go. So we're entering play mid-game. So it's much, it's kind of cool. Adding more and more layers as we go along. Your head is scrambled with learning how to play. Well, I'll tell you what, there will be in the future, hopefully not too much longer, but we'll have to see. We are going to be, I am going to be doing a how to play series using Conquest. So we'll use Conquest to kind of build up on the rules video at a time. So one of the videos will be, one set of rules, and then we'll play a mission in a second video, and I'll have guests come along and they'll do that, and people can come along and join in and do a series of videos. It's one of the things I want to talk about in my Ask Me Anything and my update on Friday, but it's something I'm planning on doing. And then, as always, at the back we have new models, which means we have new data sheets. This one is Death Guard number 4 with the Lord of Contagion, and he's a single model armed with a Man Reaper or a Plague Reaper. And I do believe, obviously, I've said we're going to be getting one of these later on. I believe this is a Plague Reaper, and this one here is a Man Reaper. That's what I believe is the case. And so you can choose one or the other. I mean, I have that one, so I could play with both of them. And all the rules for this, there we go. Cataphract Armor has a 4-up invuln save, but it must halve the roll for move distances when it advances, as well as only having a 4-inch movement. Whereas if we have a look at a regular Plague Marine or anybody else, it's 5 inches. The Foul Blightspawn, the Biologist, Putrefier, the Plague Marine have all got a 5-inch movement. The Poxwalkers are only little, so they only get 4 as well. So only a 4-inch movement, and then we have the Blightlord Terminators, of course, as well, that come with them. Again, they're carrying around Cataphracti armor, so they are 4-inch movements as well. And we have all of their extra rules at the bottom. You was in a 4-on-4 at the weekend. 50 power each was definitely a learning curve and experience. I don't like playing with power levels, to be fair, because I prefer points match play. It's much easier. Power levels are just far too easy to abuse, just generally because you don't have to pay for the weapon options. So you just, each of your guys can have the best weapon possible, and you don't have to pay any extra for any models that have only got a bolter. Let's get rid of the glue off the spine here. There we go. And we'll pop that into the folder at the back there, and then we have, of course, the rear of the book saying that we're going on issue number 21. We are going planet side on Corvon 2, which of course we had the battle map for that in last week's issue. It might have been why I ran out of time, actually. I had the art book and a playmat to go through as well. That's the local GW rules for the Vigilus campaign. That's fair enough. I never do any of that, so I have no idea how they run. So we have more miniatures and more battles. Yep, we've got plenty more miniatures to go. We are only just about coming up to the quarter of the way through this magazine. So, and then there we go. Issue number 20 is the armored container. It's the third and final armored container. And Daniel Grant, thank you for joining us. And in issue number 21, where you start going to the first battle for Corvon 2 begins, you get a full core rules, which is kind of cool. You get that in any of the box games as well. and you get 3 more Reavers, which will be fantastic. And yeah, that's pretty much the magazine. So we pretty much get to the end there. So I'm doing perfectly fine. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Dan. Even. Thank you for asking. Oh, that is definitely a full. Now, technically, if we think about that, we're a quarter of the way through. There's going to be 4 folders. That is a full folder. Next week's issue should be the last one that goes in it. However, we don't actually have the next folder just yet. I would imagine that I'm expecting that folder on the next delivery. I believe, if my math is correct, the next delivery is the 6th delivery, and I think that should be a folder, and then the delivery after that I should be getting some new brushes, so we'll definitely be having a look at those when they arrive. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to be doing some painting. These guys here, they haven't had any paint added on them for weeks now, and I have just noticed I've actually got some silver paint on there, so I'm going to have to come back and touch up these guys and get them tidied up. Now again, I did say that I was going to be using the Citadel starter brush for the entire time that we have this, but quite frankly the brush has died reasonably quickly, so I can't really carry on with that trend. But I'm not going to grab my nicest brush that I have. I'll just grab some of these brushes that I have given to me from a friend of mine from high school. And so, you know, he works at a high school in the art department. I'm going to throw a load of brushes out, so I saved them, dipped them in ISO, and saved them. So those are the ones I'm going to use. It might be the exhaustion, but I'm sure I heard you say you were going to do some mating. That's the wrong platform for that kind of thing. Right, so what I'm going to do is actually, because I'll just put the book away, I need to find out where it tells us to put all of the new paint that we had, which was the where is it? Oh no, hang on a minute. Was it down further in the back? We want to find how to put on the red and the Rakarth flesh. How to paint fine details. Here we go. This is the one, isn't it? Because we need Rakarth flesh, Mephiston red, and Mechanicus standard grey, which I have all of these up here. Not that kind of channel. No, definitely not. Right. So here we provide a guide for you using your Mephiston red and Rakarth flesh paints to add fine details to your model. We also add some Mechanicus standard grey to your aggressors. Oh, okay, so I don't need the Mechanicus standard grey because I'm not painting aggressors. So we have a look at the intercessors. The intercessors have very few areas that need a coat of Mephiston red, but you will need to paint the sergeant's helmet and any purity seals on the models. Okay, so we have the purity seals. He's not a sergeant, so we don't have to paint his the red on him. But I do want to grab. I was thinking about using my wet palette, but I do remember I said I wasn't going to be doing that, and that everything I do for this magazine will be done in a standard kind of, you know, whatever you might have lying around. So if I grab one of my pots of basing material, here we go. So that's what I'll use as a palette. And we'll grab the Mephiston red and give it a shake. And that's why I've got a sore wrist, by the way. There's too much shaking of these pots. I need to find, I was going to grab one of the paint shakers. You can buy them on on the internet, but the trouble is that they're quite expensive for what they are, but also they make an absolute racket. So if I could never use it for the channel because it makes such a noise that you know, if I turn the things on, it's just noisy. So if anybody has any ideas of an automatic paint shaker that would be useful for somebody on YouTube so that I could use it without deafening everybody, feel free to let me know. Alright, so I'm just using a piece of plastic now. So yeah, takeaway container, add the paint to that, give it a bit of a wet, get a nice tip on the brush, well, the best tip I can with this particular brush, and paint in the purity seals on the model. Now I do know we're going to be getting some technical paint soon as well, so probably be doing some basing. Going to get some astro granite debris, which is going to be cool. Welcome back, Wayne. Chris, you did a 4-on-4 as a learning game. It would have been too much for you. What am I painting? So basically I missed the painting last week of the Rakarth Flesh and the Mephiston Red. So I'm just catching up with that today. So we've got Mephiston Red on the purity seal of the Space Marine. And there'll probably be some more on something else. Which is, let's have a look at this guy. Some of the Plague Marines have a cloth hanging from their waists. Paint these red. You will also want to paint Repugnus's tongue and Bowboxer's eye lenses. So this is Repugnus, if you cast your mind back to the first issue we had. So the only part of this that we actually have to paint red is his tongue, which is this bit here, of course. That thing sticking out of his mouth. So that's what we're going to do. So actually I put far too much red on the palette there, and I'll lose that, which is another reason why I use a wet palette. Get a dog and attach the paints to it and throw a ball. Yeah, it certainly would help my wrist. I mean, that's what's causing it. It's too much backwards and forwards like that. It's yeah, I know what you're thinking, but it's not that. It's just, it hurts to shake a bottle of paint, especially with the amount of bottles of paint that I pick up every day. Alright, so we're going to do the same thing with the Rakarth Flesh. Shake it up, and I'll give my other hand an RSI now. The things I put myself through for you followers. But to be fair, you all show your support in fantastic ways, and I do appreciate every single one of you. Wet palettes. Yes, definitely. Yeah, because I mean, that paint there is now going to dry up and I've lost it. You know, and it's not a huge amount, but I mean, if you imagine that, you know, every day you put that much paint on a palette and then it dries up and you've lost it, you know, it could be a much, especially, I mean, in my wet palette. I've actually not touched my wet palette for a couple of days. You know, I've gone away, I've been busy over a weekend, and all I do is during a weekend is I'll come back, I'll make sure that my wet palette stays wet. Now the paint can get a little bit over diluted in a wet palette because obviously it just continually drinks up the water. But you know, you dip your brush in, add a little bit more paint to it, and it's perfectly fine to carry on using. Alright, so the Rakarth Flesh we're doing on the Space Marine, it's just basically the purity seals, the parchment. So I'm just going to do that like so. I'm surprised actually, what colour are the eye lenses? I'm supposed to have done the eye lenses on this Space Marine as well in red. Should have done that. Problem solver here. What, me? A problem solver? Or you? Trouble is, my missus wants a dog actually, to be fair. I told her under no circumstances is she having a dog. Absolutely not going to happen. Right, so here we go. So a big brush, here we go. Big brush, reasonably big. You wouldn't think about wanting to use a brush like this. And this is what I keep telling people about, the brush that you use doesn't really matter. What's more important is being able to get that fine point, because no matter how big your brush is, if you can get a perfectly fine point on that brush, you can paint the eye lenses on a Space Marine. Now most people would think about needing to use a massively small brush, size 0, 00, quadruple 0 to be able to do an eye lens. But no, if you can make sure your brush is perfectly fine tipped, absolutely sharp, you could use a size 10 brush to do this. I mean, of course you'd have to start worrying about the paint flowing off of the brush, because you do have to consider the belly of the brush actually as the reservoir, and as soon as it touches the model you have paint start flowing down. There we go, we got eye lenses on there. You can't even see that, can you? Let's bring him up here. It's not very bright, I know, I apologise, but there we go. And the size of the brush next to that, there we go, super fine point, and you can get the details in there. I might want to reconsider the dog idea now. Yeah, no, I think I'd rather the noise of a paint shaker. To be fair, you don't have the skill to use a large brush. No, to be fair, I mean, if you're using a large brush, it can be difficult to control. But on the whole, you'll have over time you'll get to grips with it. I'm going to try and see if I can. I'm really screwing with the detail, the picture here. I have no idea what I'm doing with the filter. Hopefully that's a bit better. So bleeding. I need to sort out my camera details. But there we go. Hang on a minute. Let's bring that up. There we are. Just about see that. And the size of the brush I was using is that big. But because it's so fine and so sharp, as long as I'm just touching just the tip of the brush, I can get in there. Now obviously, not everybody wants to be using such a small brush to begin with, such a large brush to begin with, but it's something, once you've got your control of your brush, which comes with practice. I mean, you just have a when you've got a brush in your hand as much as I do, you just start to learn. But it does come with practice. But yeah, once you've got some brush control, you'll be able to paint fine details without having to change your brush all the time. As long as your brush is clean, you'll be able to just mix and match. So, and then what we need, use the Rakar flesh to cover the skull logos on Repugnus's shoulders, as well as any mutated ridges of bone or horn on the Plague Marine. So of course we have his teeth on his gut here that are going in. So we'll get some of that done. Now he does have a maggot on there as well, which I will paint. Otherwise it will look a mess. Now of course I have done, whoops, ow, that was noisy. Ah, what was that? Oh, it's the lid on the wet palette slipping, so I'm leaning on it. Sorry about any blown eardrums just then. I was just going to see if I could pick up. Let's see if I can pick the one that I've done. Where is he? Yeah. Some of you may have seen this on Instagram. Actually, I did paint up my own. So you can see how I do things different than GW do. You can find that picture on Instagram, I think. I think I might actually post the picture again. Once I've done this, I'll post the picture again on Discord. You can have a look of the side-by-side view of Will's way of doing things and Conquest's current way of doing things. I wonder if we're going to be doing any washing on this. It would be helpful. Washing as well can help hide a lot of sins. Very, very thin paint, so it's actually I mean, this probably want a couple of coats as well because it's such a large area, so we might be able to pause this, not pause, but have a chat while I'm waiting for this to dry before doing a second coat as well. It's always good having 2 coats of paint, you know, because of how thin you can make the paint. It's weird, there's something about the way paint works. Sometimes even a thick coat of paint won't actually go on smoothly and it won't cover the layer beneath it, and sometimes a thin paint might not cover as well, but the second coat of thin paint covers better than say 2 coats of thick paint. It's weird, I don't know how that works. I've been waffling enough, I've actually lost paint's dry. So I will just dry that off. Well, so, yeah, I may have missed why, but why are you not using your wet palette? Because when I first started the Conquest series, I said I was going to do this in a way that anybody can do, and we'll see how they look when they're done. So this guy obviously was done with my wet palette. But I wanted to show that a wet palette doesn't make a good painter. You know, you don't have to, you know, look at your models and go, oh, they're no good, and it must be because I haven't got a wet palette. A wet palette is a fantastic tool of keeping your paints wet, and it helps with thinning your paint, but it by no means does not make your painting any better by owning one. It's a tool that helps, but that's about it. Oh, AP here, yeah. No, you're not that bad. No, so yeah, so when I do these, I'm not using the best brushes I can find. This brush, I said as I started this, came from a high school. I'm getting rid of them from a high school, and I just cleaned it with some 100% isopropyl alcohol. Gave it a clean with some brush soap, and that's what I'm using. So there's actually a couple of stray hairs sticking out from the side of this brush. It's not a brilliant brush, but it's a cheap one from a high school, and I can get it into a reasonably sharp point, which means it's a good brush to use, even though high schools pay what, 25p for a brush. Why don't I do major brushes number 2? I have no, it's not even number 2, it's NR.2. So I have absolutely no idea what this brush is, and that's the point. I'm not using my Series 7s. I mean, if the starter brush was still in good condition, I'd be using that as well. But in a couple of deliveries time, I should be getting some more GW brushes, so I'll give those a go. But yeah, just the starter brush just does not work anymore, so I had to stop using it. So that's all of the Rakkar flesh, and the because it's so wet, so because I've used so much water, it's so thin, it's dry, so I can now pretty much go straight around again. You do want to make sure that your paint is dry though, because if it is wet and you start painting over it, you'll find instead of actually laying another layer of paint down, you'll actually be taking the layer off that you've just put down because it's wet. So instead of putting paint on, your brush will be taking it back off again. And that's just no good. But yeah, hopefully by the end of this series we'll have we'll see how my painting compares to the painting in the magazine. Unless of course halfway down through the magazine they'll say, right, we're going to show you how to paint completely different technique, in which case this model will be useless unless I strip it and start again. But we'll see what they do further on down the line, because I don't imagine, I know that we're getting more paints further down the line, and I know we're getting different models, but I don't see that they will finish the magazine teaching you to paint this way. Otherwise you've got two armies. If you paint using the magazine, you've got two armies with what can only be described as a beginner standard painting. And surely by the end of the magazine you'll want to be a little bit better than a beginner. I don't know, I'm waffling now. But yeah, I mean, if you're collecting the magazine and you've got some cash to spare, there is a video how to paint a Death Guard Marine on my channel, as I said earlier, where I use the paints I want to use in the order that I would want to use them. And Wayne swears by it. He loves that video. I'm sure he'll tell you. I like lots of dry brushing, lots of simple washes and dry brushing the highlights in, using washes to give detail, texture, age, just generally weathering the model down. And it's how I painted this guy as well. Look at that, I just dropped that right in the wet paint. So I painted this guy as well. Did it exactly the same way. I just added a few extra details like the blood for the blood god and some of the other details on him. But we'll get to him when we get him in the magazine. I'll do another video. But yeah, so there we go. I mean, that's let me just get this watch set out of the way. And look at that, I've pretty much done the entire show in about an hour. I'm still nearly done by 8 o'clock. And I started half an hour later. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to clear this light out of the way so I don't put my elbow in it. Bring this back, and I'll tell you what I will do is I'll go grab the model that I did a video on, which I believe is this guy. I think it was this one that I did it on. Was it this guy? Let's bring him back. Was it him? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's him. So, I mean, again, the I do indeed. It's been improved by my painting in leaps and bounds, the best I've done in years, and given me the confidence to finally paint an HQ model. Will is the man. Well, that is very high praise. Thank you very much. I was just expecting you to say, yeah, it was a good video. Right, let's have a look, see if I can bring this into focus, if I get it up nice and close. Bring it into focus. There we are. So, yes, according to the magazine, your models will look something like that, which is reasonable. I mean, I'm not going to say anything against it. I mean, it's perfectly, I mean, the model's painted. You've got shading and detail. I mean, I do need to, like I said, I don't tend to look at these very often, and trying to paint when you're on a show, so obviously there is some very thick shading going on there that could really do with being a bit of tidying up, but I don't actually think I really need to worry about it, because at the end of the day I don't want this thing to look like some master painted thing, which does make me sound a bit like an egotist, but you know, I don't want it to be perfect, because I want you guys to feel good about your first models, if these are your first models that you're painting. So yeah, so according to the Conquest magazine, this will be something that you want to look for. much like one of the first Plague Marines that we got as well, which is really bright. Let's bring that into focus here. Yeah, I've really got to sort out my lighting, but if I can shade that a little bit here. There we are, something like that. There we are. Lovely. I don't know if we're supposed to shade that, but then it's going to take a while to dry because it's so wet, so we'll see. And then while I'm here, the videos on the channel show you how to paint this model just like this. I added a few extra details to it after the fact, but it's somewhere along these lines. Which, lots of dry brushing. You see no edge highlighting done on this, which obviously is the heavy metal's preferred way of highlighting things. But there is a discussion when people talk about the way that GW paints and the heavy metal way of things that they paint, like the Death Guard. There's often people will talk about the Death Guard being actually quite clean, and the reason for that is obviously that, you know, they want to show off the model and show off the detail. So I mean, if you look at my guy here, there's not a lot of detail that's being shown off because I cover it in filth and make it, you know, grubby and dirty. What's this? When I was asked to paint some chaos and things for my GW, I went straight to your tutorials. Well, thank you very much. I'm glad that they're useful. That's the other thing, is I don't want to just. I do use my videos sometimes as like a digital recipe book, you know. Sometimes, so even I'll go back to my own videos. But it's nice that, you know, you look at my videos for your own stuff. It's nice that they're useful. So thank you for that. And I say dry brushing is not for noobs. No, it's not. And actually, I think that's one of the things that I do want to combat with my channel, is I don't want people to just think that if you dry brush, then you obviously can't paint. It's another tool in the toolbox. You know, I am capable of edge highlighting my models, but I'll only do it when I feel that edge highlighting is the best technique for that area. I'll dry brush a lot of things because that's ideal for that area, such as, I mean, I'm doing these guard at the minute, and I've done some dry brushing on this cloak here, and this guard here. That was all dry brush. There's no edge highlighting done on him. It's not very good pictures. Better pictures online, but you know, it's worth doing dry brushing, because I don't want those really hard clean lines, and I think that's kind of my painting style anyway, is that I like my models to be quite dusty, and I think that's the important thing. When GW do their edge highlighting, everything is so clean. They're showing off the model, it's all nice and clean. You see where all the edges are, and you see all the angles, and it looks really nice and clean. Whereas I like mine to be grim, dark and dusty. I like the dusty effect of dry brushing, so, and that's why I don't do a lot of it, a lot of edge highlighting. I'm the dry brush master. Oh, thank you very much. I think, I don't know if everybody in the chat at the minute was on the random show that I did when I shoe off. No, I can't even get my England out today. When I showed, yeah, there it is, the Seraphon Priest with the actually, I'll do it again if I've still got it saved up on my let's have a look. Image, there we go. Is that the one? Oh no, that's the Seraphon with the that's the regular Seraphon guy. I mean, again, I did that entire thing the entire thing was dry brushed. The only thing that I did was base coated. Everything else was just dry brushed. And then, of course, the other image that I showed off. I'm such a shoe off, yeah. The other model that I did show Is that the one? Is this one here? Where again, it looks like I've kind of spent time blending the colours together, and I didn't. It was dry brushed, as well as the skin tones on the back. They're dry brushed because, I mean, one, being a commission painter, you need to get things done reasonably quickly anyway. So you don't really have time to edge highlight everything. But on the whole, you know, dry brushing all of this. Where is it? There we go. There we go. There, dry brushing all of that. So specifically, the dark green into what appears to be a yellow. Well, actually, it's dark green into light green, and it's just yellow dry brushed over the top that makes it look yellow. So I think, I don't know if everybody here was in the video that I showed this off, but yeah, I mean, dry brushing. Again, I keep talking about dry brushing. I always get sidetracked by you guys into talking about dry brushing. But yeah, it's not just for noobs. That's what I'm trying to say. There we go. And we've reached the end of the show. No, night, everyone. No, I don't have to disappear just yet. But yeah, well, we have reached pretty much the end of the show, unless there's something else you want to talk about. But yeah, yeah, I'm going to stop talking about dry brushing now. I'm just going to get on with it and just do the dry brushing. But it's been a nice show. I mean, the magazine this week wasn't particularly full. Did you notice that? There's not really a huge amount in this magazine this week. I mean, you got 4 models, which is kind of cool. It makes it worth it because I don't actually know how much Lord Felthius and his cohort costs, but it's definitely more than $7.99. So it's been a decent amount of models in it. Which is good, but the magazine itself was pretty light on what's in it. Next week, however, we will be doing the show. It's got an armoured container in it, so we've seen the armoured container. I've actually built an armoured container on the show, so we don't really need to worry about the build guide. We'll have a quick look through the painting guide, but we'll see what fluff is in that magazine next week. So it'll probably be quite a quick episode in terms of the magazine, but it's also the 20th episode, the 20th magazine, and if you cast your mind back to number 10, I did say every 10th episode, so we'll do it 8 times throughout the course of the series, we'll have a look at the magazines, at the folder, and see how it works out. So next week we'll have a look at that. I like to mix dry brushing with edge sometimes. Definitely, exactly, and that's kind of the point. And you're going to get me started on dry brushing again. No. Mixing techniques is perfectly acceptable. In fact, it would be encouraged, because sometimes, you know, you've got some dry brushed, I don't know, you dry brush some armour just to get the edges defined. But then perhaps it's a really glossy or sharp edge. So yeah, give it a dry brush just to define the edge, and then your final highlight would be really, really fine edge highlighting, just to really sharpen that edge out. And that's perfect. And I mean, I wish more people would do that. But it seems like, you know, a lot of painters are split between you either dry brush or you edge highlight. I majority dry brush, of course, because it's quicker, but I'm not one of the people that would say I only dry brush or I only edge highlight. There is definitely there's a space in the middle where you just use the tools available to you. It's similar to people that refuse to accept that airbrushing isn't cheating. It's not cheating. It's just, you know, it's just a thing. And for some reason my phone, why did Google just all of a sudden start talking on my tablet? Yeah, so some people will refuse to accept that airbrushing is a tool that's not cheating, whereas, you know, it's just another tool in the toolbox. If you want to do some fades with an airbrush, then fine, then come in with a bit of a dry brush to soften up those edges, then do that. And then if you want to or highlight the edges, just dry brush over the airbrushing, and then when you've finished doing that, edge highlight some of the really sharp edges, and you've used all 3. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. You know, it's just, you know, that you're using the tools that you have available. But conversely, there's nothing wrong with only sticking to one type of paint, or painting technique or tools available to you. I mean, if check out Jimmy the Brush on Twitch. I love watching him paint. Him and his missus, they paint on Twitch often, and they don't use shades. They literally, everything is just plain acrylic paint. Non-metallic metals, no shades, everything is painted. And they'll actually paint in the shadows and then highlight up to their edge highlight, which is, that's it. You know, that's the way it is. You're like, well, you shy away from edge highlighting only because you're lazy and dry brushing is quicker. My view is both techniques are great. Exactly. I mean, you know, at the end of the day, you do you. Find out what technique you like and just go with it and run with it. Because why not? In fact, actually on Thursday, I'm actually going to try my hand at some wet blending, or more to the point, blending, or layering up. I'm going to see if I can do that. I've had a bit of a play around with my wet palette, and I might add and I'm going to try some blending and see what actually happens there. You know, I always try and learn new techniques, but at the end of the day, when I'm trying to paint something that I know that I want to do, I'll use whatever technique I know is going to work for that moment. But you know, there's to use old cliches, there's plenty of ways to skin a cat, and painting is no different. You do you, basically. Yeah. So I don't know. Is there any more questions? Is there anything you want to talk about? You know, preferably not dry brushing, but is there anything else we want to talk about in terms of Conquest or anything that's going on like that? Otherwise, we'll probably just end the show, I think. But it has been a pleasurable show, and I do thank Wayne, Chris, and Dan for being here. It's been a pleasure. I don't know if the later show kind of stops people from joining in. Blending. Keep the paint thin and do it in stages. That's my trap so far. Yeah, absolutely. You have to do it really, really thin paint. Yeah. If it's too thick, it just won't work. But I have got in my wet palette, if I just move this stuff here very, very quickly and bring it to the keep paint down and do it in stages. That's my trick. Grasp so far. Bloody autocorrect. Oh, that's your grasp of it so far, right? Okay, yeah. So yeah, what I have here, I don't know if you can see that. I mean, the colours are a bit funky. I really need to try and figure that out, but I already have on here. I have red at one end, and I've got a light orange at the other. I'm kind of just trying to practice how to, for starters, just get a blend on the wet palette on a flat surface, because then basically I can just in stages take paint from here, take paint from here, take paint from here, take paint from here, and just gradually go along and just lay. Reconnection successful, but am I still streaming? That's the main thing. Am I still streaming? I have no idea. Oh dear. There we go. I am back. Fair enough. I don't know what happened there. Sorry about that. Yeah. So I've got all of the blends going, and I've got some stuff at the back there, and yeah. Feed just cut. Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there. But yeah. I'm going to try some new stuff. Then that's what Thursdays are all about as well, actually. And considering that, the next live show that is planned is going to be Thursday. But don't forget, if you're watching this at a later date, I pretty much know that Chris and Wayne, you're both, possibly Dan as well, you're both already subscribed and you've pressed the bell button. But if you haven't, if you're watching this in the future, don't forget to do that as well. That way you will know when I go onto a random stream, when I just fancy just turning the cameras on and just doing some painting. I did that last week when I was doing What was I doing? I know I was doing. Oh, that's it. The Gene Stealer coats, and I did it again when I was playing around with these guardsmen one night. So, and I did that last night. I might come back again later on tonight. I've no idea. But yeah, keep an eye on my stream, and don't forget to jump on the Discord as well. That way. Oh, and I need to change the. I need to change those times because I'm not going to be at 18:30. It's going to be at 1900 UK time. So yeah. But yeah, jump on the Discord and I'll probably have a chat with. I have a chat with everybody there, and yeah, you can send in your pictures as well, of course, over on Discord, or you can just send them to Facebook or Instagram or anything like that. You can do that. But yeah, hopefully I'll be popping on at some point in the future. So make sure you you subscribe, press the bell button, and all of that jazz. Yeah, do another late stream. I hate sleeping. I do admire dedication. Missing out on sleep just to see me mess around with paint. But yeah, I've got plenty of guardsmen to paint now to try and get a kill team painted up so that the Tuesday night kill team games, I've got more kill teams to have featured. I've certainly got to get rid of these Gene Stealer coats that I have over in the corner that you can't see. So that I've freed up my commission stuff so that I can do some more filming and just generally hopefully get some more videos done and dusted. Speaking of videos, don't forget my Ask Me Anything and my update video will be done at some point this week for Friday, which will premiere on Friday. And just the premiere means that everybody can get to watch it at the same time, and I'll probably be in the chat. But also, I should be on the Discord live chat with my 3rd tier and above patrons. I can't remember that. But if you join on Patreon, you automatically, whichever tier you join on Patreon, you'll automatically get added to the various tiers on Discord. Alright, I think that's enough for tonight, I think. I am about to go jump onto the Discord chat with the Patreons now for my after show. But other than that, I will say thank you, Wayne, Chris, Dan. Thank you for watching this one. And I'll catch you in the next one, alright? Dara.